Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in this hive of scum and villainy. So I've been to the Overwatch University subreddit ahead of time and just scraped all the questions off the first couple of pages, and we're going to answer them now. Also, footage of Dragon Ball FighterZ plays in the background because it's a better game than Overwatch. With special guest, my actual human son. Look, he's very fat. And if you're wondering which side I'm on, just look for whichever side has the blueberry-flavored Android 21. That one's me. So, first up, how to counter Genji without insane aim and reactions. I mean, just, like, stun the guy, you know? Like, if you're playing someone like Widow, you've got, like, no choice except to, like, click on that guy better. But, conveniently, we can play people like McCree, or Winston, Mei, Doomfist, you know? None of these people have to work too hard to kill Genji. I don't have great aim and reactions, but I can, like, throw the flashbang at the guy and then fan the hammer into him. That takes care of the issue pretty good. On the other side of that, you know, you got the old classics. Mei and Winston don't have to aim very hard, you know. If you're playing support, then the best thing you can do is, like, pick Moira. Genji's not gonna kill you if you're playing Moira, unless, like, he's a god or you fuck up, basically. So, there you go, play those heroes, basically. You know, if you're someone like Widow, Soldier, you gotta click on the guy. There's not much other choice. But McCree, hey, you just gotta aim vaguely in his vicinity first, and then click the guy. Easy. So, next up is, I have a question about placement games. There were like 12 of this question this week, and all I have to say on the matter, really, is stop worrying about placement games, you weirdos. Stop wondering why, every season, you don't immediately get placed in Diamond when you were in Gold last season. Because that always seems to be the issue people have. Now, I do want to point out one in particular that was really, really good. So the title of the thread was, placement is pointless because it always places you at the same point as the previous season. Now, brother, I have to ask first off what you were expecting. But secondarily, we've got more. So, in the thread, someone, very patiently, had explained the point of placement games, or the points, because there's a few points, and and it was, you know, okay, we don't need to really get into that. The guy's response was, I accept that, but I also got given the completely wrong SR. So if I'm forced to do placements, then can we at least make them properly calculate SR? Oh, Don't be like this guy. Don't do that. So, moving on from that one now. The next one isn't much better. I'm feeling rather spiteful this week because I'm also sick, okay? Forgive me if we get very rambling and incoherent, and also me being a little self-indulgent. Because the next question is, how many seasons/hours to climb out of silver with a 50% average accuracy in Soldier on McCree? Now, I'm sorry to tell you this, brother, but it doesn't work that way, you know? I wish it was simple enough that we could plug into the calculator one stat, and then through some kind of equational wizardry, extrapolate out how long it would take us to be in top 500. Tragically, doesn't work that way. Your accuracy could be 100%, and that doesn't necessarily do anything. And you know how I know it could be 100% and that doesn't change anything? I've seen people who are very obviously using an aimbot and still lost. Because it doesn't matter if you can aim if you don't know how to play the rest of the game around aiming. So, tragically, doesn't work that way. Can't tell you how long it's gonna take, but if you're at the point where you're asking this question, it's probably gonna take you a few seasons at the very least to get out of silver. Just a hunch if you're asking this kind of question. So, next up is, if I'm playing a line of sight support like Ana, how much of my team's positioning is my responsibility, and how much of it is on my main tank and the rest of my team? So the phrasing of this question is extremely awkward. Just off the phrasing of the question, how your team's positioning is 0% your responsibility because you're not them. But obviously the actual question is more along the lines of, how much am I expected to move to keep up with people being out of position, right? So a guy in the thread honestly, nailed this, and I don't have anything better to say, so I'm just gonna quote this guy, who is Target Q2, on Q, the letter, and then 2, the number, on Reddit, who said, "Look at it as this. Who is dying first? You? Your positioning is bad? Almost regardless. In my opinion, you should be the furthest away from enemy line of sight as possible while still seeing your tanks. Like on King's Road Defense, first point, you should likely be in the archway, especially if you have someone watching close flank. Widow will have a hard time getting line of sight, most flankers will have to traverse the map to get to you, and you can still see all of the point. Tank, were they out of position? Were you? Did they get antied or slept? Did they randomly push? Often I communicate to my main tanks where I am playing, and only move forward if I feel it's safe to do so. DPS, were they flanking and got caught? Out of your line of sight? One shot? I watch a lot of Gale and ML7 on YouTube. They rarely move to a new position to heal teammates and often rely on their teammates coming to their line of sight. That said, they will often direct their teammates where to go. Hanzo peek left. I find often when I come forward to try and save a Reaper or something, I will get headshot or stunned and then we wipe. Try to always be the last one to die. The longer you are alive, the longer you can heal. Play near DPS or your other support and just ask for help when you need it." And that's honestly, that's pretty much it. I don't have anything else to say on the matter. There you go. Great job, Target Q2. You nailed it. So, now, all my windows are fucked up. Alright, so, next up is... I've lost my place. How to deal with Widow and all other snipers as a support. Don't fight the Widow. Just try and stay out of Widow's line of sight as much as possible. All things being equal, if you pick a fight with a Widow or a sniper as a support, you will get clapped 10 times out of 10. It's simply not feasible for you to beat the Widow unless she is significantly worse than you. Like Ana, you gotta hit Widow 3 times. She's gotta hit you once. You know, the math doesn't break down on it too well. And it's hitbox-wise, it's a lot easier to hit Ana than it is Widow. That's a little subjective, but I mean, Widow's literally a stick, you know? She's a very thin boy? She's a very thin girl. There's definitely some art where Widowmaker's a boy, but she's a very thin girl, you know, very sticky. And Ana hunched forward, her head is hunched forward with her body. It's pretty easy to hit Ana in the head compared to most other people. And Zen is literally like a floating box. And those are the only two that can feasibly ever beat Widow, and the Widow has to fuck up to let it happen. So just avoid the Widow's line of sight as much as you can, stay in cover, don't trust your teammates to block for you, use natural cover on the map to hide. And call out to your teammates where the Widow is, you know, stuff like that, the classics. And those are about your options. If you think the Widow is bad, by all means, go for it, I guess. But just bear in mind that Widow always has the advantage in these duels that you pick as a support. So bear that in, or Hanzo, Ash, they all have the advantage over you in these duels. So bear that in mind when you pick a fight with them. Either you gotta really hope they're bad, or something has to be distracting them. They're not looking at you, or they're weirdly close, so you can use your cooldowns as Ana or something and reliably hit her, you know. They're being dove right now, so you can then poke out and start shooting at her, maybe. Stuff like that. Just bear in mind, you never have the advantage against them unless something is distracting them. So next up is, why do people think Zenyatta is a bad support? There's a few things. This is, like, there's a few things. Some of them are related, well, a lot of them are related to rank. It just depends on the rank of you or your teammates in a way. So, lower SR, like, as you get higher in SR, Zenyatta starts getting better, and there's a couple reasons. One of the main ones is that Zenyatta doesn't do much healing. So, this is a big deal. This is a bigger deal in lower SRs because people just stand out in the open and take damage for no reason and expect their teammates to heal them through this. This is why people like Moira are better in lower SRs, because they can output a lot of healing and they're very safe. They don't rely on their teammates at all. Zenyatta puts out very low healing. This is less of an issue in higher SR, where people generally are taking less random damage. They're actually, like, using hard cover on the map. They're not just standing out there getting clapped for no reason. The other thing is that you can't rely on your teammates to help you as Zenyatta, because Zenyatta is one of the most vulnerable characters in the entire game, right? Your teammates need to help you with some things, because the only alternative for you is click on them better than they click on you, which is not exactly reliable when you're a floating cube for a hitbox. So that's another issue. The other issue is, or another issue, we've got a lot of issues to get through. Zen is already vulnerable by himself. One of the most popular supports right now is Ana. Ana and Zenyatta combined is like the most vulnerable support line you could possibly have. Both characters are dependent to varying extent, but both dependent, just like Ana slightly less dependent, on your teammates helping you, right? Like, both of them need assistance to get through some stuff. So when you've got the two of them together, that's very scary. Now, by the same token, Ana's very popular right now, which means there's usually an Ana on the enemy team as well. This makes Transcendence much less consistent as an ultimate than Sound Barrier, because Transcendence, if Ana throws a bio grenade in there, fuck, Trance is doing shit all right now. Sound Barrier isn't affected by that, so that's another issue. We'll have to try and, like, we have more issues to go through. Healing ultimates. Oh yes, the other issue, lower SRs. This is the last, like, real issue. Is that no, it's not true. There's a couple more related to the people who play Zenyatta. With regards to Discord Orb, which is one of, like, the main reason to pick Zenyatta is because you're picking him for Discord Orb, right? Because Transcendence, we already established, is worse than Sound Barrier a lot of times right now. So the main reason to pick Zen is the Discord Orb. In lower SRs, people are way less likely to focus the person that has the Discord Orb on them. So that also reduces Zen's utility. And then the other issues, this is more related to the people who play Zenyatta typically, and this affects people's opinion of Zenyatta, and you can decide how fair that is exactly. Zenyatta players, here's what they always, you tell me how often you see this. The Zenyatta player puts their Harmony Orb on the main tank and then never moves it. This is not a very efficient way of playing Zenyatta. You want to be putting your orb on flankers and DPS or the other support. Zenyatta is very, very tragically bad at healing tanks, so you want to avoid doing that. But how many times have you seen him just put the Harmony Orb on the guy and then not do anything with it, right? Another thing with Zenyatta is that, like, if he isn't personally contributing a chunk of damage, why are you picking Zenyatta, you know? So if, like, you're not great at aiming, then Zenyatta loses some of his appeal right there as well. And people just don't know what to do with, like, their orbs in general. This is also true of, like, Discord Orb, where they'll move it around frequently. Because the Harmony Orb, they don't move around enough, or they put it on the wrong people. And Discord Orb, they move around too much. And I imagine that this is because they're thinking to themselves, this is my ability, this is my damage boost, so I put it on the person that I'm shooting at, and everybody else should change to who I'm shooting at. When in reality, the best thing to do with Discord Orb most of the time is put it on one of the tanks and let them get killed. Or somebody that's out of position and let them get killed. But Zenyatta players, I'm shooting at that guy, and now I'll put the orb there, and I'm shooting at that guy, so I move it there, and then just repeat that over and over and over again. And Discord Orb just spends the whole time bouncing around, never really spending any time on anybody, just changing as the Zenyatta player focuses changes. So, this is not a good way to play Zenyatta either. So they, don't move their healing orbs enough, and they put them on the wrong people, and they move their Discord Orbs way too much, and also put it on the wrong people anyway, so... that's more related to people's perception of Zenyatta. People see this happening, and that makes people Zenyatta player. That's a textbook Zenyatta player right there, So, and this is not always fair. Sometimes, the Zenyatta player can be playing just fine, but, it's the Zenyatta player, right? Yes, I'm playing Widowmaker, so I am being told that I am a waste of space by my own team, while simultaneously the enemy team is accusing me of aimbotting. I don't know how both of these things can be true at the same time. Anyway, so that's why people say Zenyatta is a bad support. Some of these reasons are legitimate, some of them are not, and some of them are SR-based. But... those are the reasons why. For the record, I do think you can play Zenyatta, and I think there are situations where Zenyatta is the best thing you can do. More on that later. So, next up is, how does one avoid... Wait, did I put that one in here? No, I did put that one in here. Okay. How does one avoid Reinhardt's Earth Shatter? So, basically, try and track it and play around cover when you think he has it. That's the most you can do. There are some situations you'll be in where you have to depend on your Reinhardt blocking it, and that's a risky game to be playing. But sometimes you don't really get a choice in the matter. You just kind of have to depend on the guy. So, when you think he's got it, play around cover, or try and play further away from your teammates. I play Moira a lot, so when I use Coalescence, I'm very scared of being Earth-Shattered. So I'm usually quite close to my team early on, because I'm playing Moira, so I'm close to, the front-ish line. Somewhere between there and the back line. And then I start using Coalescence. I immediately start backing up as soon as I'm using it, because... I've also played a lot of Reinhardt, and there's no greater signal for usually for when to use Earth Shatter than when the enemy Moira starts using Coalescence. So I back way the fuck up to dodge the Earth Shatter. And I mean, that's all you can really do. Or if you're not great at ult tracking, just assume he always has it if you haven't recently seen it, and just play around cover or play further away if you're a hero that can do that. And that's really all you can do about it, to be honest. So, So, next up is how to help your team when they're pretty passive or stuck on choke as a support. This was the more on that later. So, there was a guy in the thread was the usual response of communicate with your team, take the leadership role, and that's only really helpful for a certain kind of person, the sort of person that's okay with being a leader and is confident. The OP of the thread said, I'm not cut out to be a leader, I can't really take this advice. To which their response was more or less, we'll get better at it, Not everybody's out there to be calling shots and telling people what to do. Okay? You can't just go around giving everybody this advice, because some people are really anxious and are not comfortable doing this for one reason or another. So, if your tanks are, really just never going to move through that door at all, they are complete bitches, which is commonly an issue with tanks, to be honest, then here's the thing with playing support. Don't invest your resources in avenues that are complete dead ends. So a tank that is completely passive and never going to walk through that door is a dead end. Do not invest your resources in him. So what do we do now instead if I can't invest my resources in the tank? Well, we start investing our resources in the DPS instead. Which means we do something like change to Mercy or Zenyatta, because they increase your DPS's damage, right? Through Discord Orb and damage boost. So we can do that instead. Zenyatta, you also get to take some of the DPS into your own hands. And not so much the case for Mercy. So, and then also you can pick Baptiste, same deal. Your ult can help your teammates do more damage, and you can take damage into your own hands as well, because Baptiste has a pretty good gun. So that's like the best thing you can do if your teammates like are too passive or just can't get through the chart. Like, don't invest in dead ends. If your tanks are never going to move through that door, invest in your DPS and try to make picks happen instead. Or try to make the picks happen yourself, if you can. And, you know, you can say the reverse as well. My DPS are, like, doing nothing. Well, start investing in your tanks instead. Or take the DPS into your own hands again with Baptiste or Zenyatta. Or just invest in your tanks, and or something like that instead. Don't invest your resources in dead ends as a support. Find where you think, like, the most helpful people on your team are, and invest in them. Don't try and keep Timmy alive over there while he continually dashes into the wall in front of him and, like, breaks his skull open every 10 minutes, right? Don't focus on that guy. Find someone else that you can depend on instead, and facilitate that guy instead of that guy. That guy's a waste of space. Don't like that. I'll invest in the guy that looks like he's doing something instead, or is at the very least not doing nothing. So there you go. That's like the best you can do in that situation. So yeah, that's go more on that later. That's where I think like Zen gets some of his best use from. When you're stuck in the choke, you can't get through. Discord Orb can make picks happen. Zenyatta being on the map can make picks happen, you know. If your tanks are not walking through the door, they're not taking damage anyway, so they don't need the extra healing. You know, Zen, we're not getting enough healing because we got Zen on our team. Just say, motherfucker, you haven't walked through that door in the last 3 minutes. What healing do you need if you're never going to engage a fight? And then they will resume shit-talking because you can't convince anybody of anything in this game. They've already made their decision, but you get to feel good about it. And that's the important thing. So next up, and this is the last question for this week, is, do you ever feel like the role you want to be good at may not be the role for you? So I have exactly 0 interest in, like, defending this point of view, right? Like, I have no patience for the argument. What the role I want to do is just not for me. I'm just not cut out for that. No. This question I find exclusively comes from people who want to play characters that are hard to play, but don't want to go through the process of learning how to play that character, right? This question is almost always from people who want to play someone like Widowmaker or Ashe, but they don't want to be bad, so they gravitated to the path of least resistance, which is usually support or tank. This is how people end up playing Mercy their entire lives. They're afraid of trying to play the harder to play roles, right? Some people like playing Mercy, in which case more power to you, but a lot of people end up playing Mercy because they're afraid that they're gonna fuck up, and it's very hard to fuck Mercy up exactly. So I have no interest in defending, like, that train of thought. Like, I don't think that there's, like, anything that you're, like, it's impossible for you to do this, right? Like, I don't believe in that. I think if you put your time and invest the time and effort into it, you can do it, right? It might take you longer than it'll take some other people to do it, you know? Such is life, you know, sometimes that's the case. It's going to be harder for you than other people, but I'm sure you can do it. It's just, it might be hard, and I understand. Doing hard things sucks, you know. I understand that, but no, I don't think there's such a thing as, I'm not cut out for that role. I don't think that happens. I think it's just that it's hard and you don't want to go through the time investment of doing it. Okay, so, like, just do it. Just, like, invest the time in learning how to do the thing that you want to do. Right? Like, you gotta learn. You know, we all had to learn how to do it. Nobody, like, popped out of the womb like a Grandmaster Widowmaker player, right? Like, they had to invest some time and effort into doing that. You can do it as well, it just might take you a while. You know, follow your dreams, just do it. Shia LaBeouf, all that, you know. It cheesy as fuck, but I do believe it, you know. So, there you go. And that's it for this week. That's all the questions I got for you. So now we have to wait for this game to finish, because it's only half done. I remember this game because this person was very perplexing to play against. It's hard to describe why exactly, unless you already are familiar with the game, but I wouldn't exactly describe the guy's way of playing as good, but I would describe it as unique. Which, you know, that gets you somewhere in a fighting game. So we might have a new fighting game to look at in the future, because Grand Blue Versus is coming out on PC on March 13th, which at time of speaking is 6 days away. So, hey, that's pretty sick. I plan to get it, and I plan to play it, and that's a much slower game than Dragon Ball FighterZ, because it's not a tag game. It's not a 3 versus 3 game. 3 versus 3 games are always going to be pretty fucking wild and crazy compared to a one-on-one fighter. But it looks very good. I like Arc Sys games in general. Obviously, I've invested like 800 hours into this one. I liked BlazBlue, but I never, like, got good at it. Part of the issue there was the character I wanted to play was Terumi, who is, not an easy character to play. And it takes a long time to get good at a fighting game. Fortunately, I've already gotten good at a fighting game, so you get to carry some of that knowledge with you, right? Like, I've invested 800 hours into this game. It's a tag game, going to a 1v1 fighter. There's gonna be an adjustment period, but I've already learned, like, some fundamentals of the game, or the genre, which is important. Fighting games are very hard to get into at the start, though. You know. I have a few friends that are interested in getting into the game as well, and I wonder how long this will last. Basically, because I got absolutely clapped playing this game for a few hundred hours, because this was the first fighting game I actually invested my time into trying to get. I sat down, like, I've wanted to do it for so long. I'm a big Dragon Ball fan. This is the time. I'm going to do it this time. And I did it, but it, no joke, took me probably 1,000 matches before I ever got to a point of competence. And then there's still a whole mile to go from there. I got there. I remember very vividly, and this is how I know I have made it. Right? I was so happy, right? So there was this time when I started playing. I haven't seen this guy in so long, but there was a guy I played right when I got the game, and his name was Soul Bad Guy IRL. He was also on Twitch, you know, for what that's worth. But I played against this guy, and he was one of the highest ranked players at the time, on PC at least. And I played that guy 30 games in a row, and I won exactly one of those games. Right? And got clapped, completely clapped, all 29 other times. And I was very happy, because he was like living legend rank, and I was, of course, like way, way, way at the bottom at the time. So now, I'm in Living Legend rank. The day I got into Living Legend rank, I was like, I've finally made it after 500 hours of playing the game. I am finally at the point of the people who clapped the shit out of me when I started playing the game. And that was an incredible moment for me. And it was very hard, but the payoff was extremely worth it, in my opinion. But not everybody has the patience to get clapped for hundreds of hours before they can even begin to actually play the game. Because fighting games are this way, where, like, the better you get at a fighting game, the more you realize that it's not really about fighting as much as it is like chess that's happening extremely quickly. Because you eventually get to the point where, like, you know what they can do, you know what you can do, and you know what they can do from the position that you both are in. So then you think, well, what are they likely to do in this position? How do I deal with that if they do it? And then what do I do, right? You have to make, like, those kinds of decisions very, very quickly. So in a way, it's... because when you start playing, you're like, oh, it's about big combos, and it's about great reactions. And then, as time goes by, you realize it's not really about either of those things. Like, it is a bit. If you have great reactions, that helps. You know, if you can do the super long combos, that's also helpful. I can do neither of these things, right? I have bad reactions. I can't tech a throw to save my life. Literally. And I can only do extremely basic combos, right? Like, I can't do any of the super long, like, fucking took 80% of your life combos, right? So, like, I can do neither of these things, but finally got good at this video game. It's actually about, like, pattern recognition in a weird way. Because, you start to learn that certain people who play certain characters have certain tendencies, right? Bardock, absolute classic, I think he did it in this game, right at the start, but I fucked it up. They almost always open the game with their charge, and I'm pretty sure he does it right now. And the way you counter that is you instant air dash back and use heavy, and you'll just clap him right at the start of the round. Does he do it? Yeah, there he does. I fucked it up. I missed. But there you go. You start to learn people have these tendencies, right? Bardock players love to do that, as well as generally, like, you learn that kind of thing, and that's way more important than, like, reactions. Anyway, that was a very rambling, incoherent tangent. Overwatch, right? Fellow gamers. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you did, if you have any questions, feel free to ask. More than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord, ask questions more directly, and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I start streaming on Twitch Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. I kind of feel bad even bringing this up, given how inconsistent I've been lately, because I keep getting fucking sick. Anyway, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, 8 p.m. EST to 11 EST. There's a link to the channel in the description. If you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future. And I hope you found the video helpful.